Hello again, welcome to Screen Spice. This is podcast number 3. I'm Nick Farinola, joined with me, of course, by Joe Ahart.
Hello, everyone.
So we got another great episode for you guys today. A lot of news, and then we're going to kind of delve into the topic of this week, which Joe will talk about later, but you want to give him like a little sneak peek of what we're going to be talking about?
So a little appetizer here for you guys. So we're going to be talking about just kind of the trend of some difficult games, kind of how they make us feel, not always positive feelings, but, that's like part of the discussion. So stay tuned for some difficulty in games. But for now, here's some news.
Okay. So for the news this week, there was actually quite a lot of news that I thought would be important to include in this. So the Fallout 76 beta, but apparently the beta for this game stands for Break It Early Test Application, and that releases in October for select pre-orders. So basically, not everyone can have access to it. I've been a fan of Fallout, and I was very curious about how this game. I know we talked about it on like maybe the first or second podcast, but the game has a lot of promise to it, but it also could be bad considering the multiplayer side of it and nuking other people and becoming frustrating like that.
I'm sure they're gonna have to figure out a way to like avoid that issue.
100%.
That's gonna be problematic pretty quick.
Yeah, and this is a great topic for today's podcast too, because I get fucking pissed off, especially when there's things that are so cheap. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I just we'll delve into that more, but
right.
Yeah, no, that's one news. So Robert De Niro is actually in talks to co-star in the new Joker movie with Joaquin Phoenix.
Really?
It hasn't really said like I don't think it's confirmed that he actually signed on, but he's in talks to co-star. I don't know what character he would play or how that work out, but it could be cool. Robert De Niro is like a crime. He's known for all those Martin Scorsese crime films, so he would do well in something like this. So at first when I read it, I was like, wait, they're gonna make a Robert De Niro Joker movie too? And I'm like, no, that there's no way. That would be so dumb. Because you said last week that they're also making a Jared Leto Joker movie.
So Jared Leto's getting his own, and the other was Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah, Joaquin Phoenix is pretty much the big one, because the other one kind of left a sour taste in all of our mouths. I mean, I don't want to say that because he really only got 5 minutes of screen time when he filmed like hours worth of Joker footage.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm not really gonna. From what I saw, I wasn't a huge fan because I felt like he was trying to be Heath Ledger being the Joker. That's how I saw it.
Like the movie was like a very simple action movie, but he had this whole kind of Shakespearean, very intense, like kind of acting role going on, and it just did not fit the rest.
Yeah. And speaking of The Dark Knight and Batman, the 10th anniversary just came up for The Dark Knight. Came out 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And almost 10 years since Heath Ledger's death, which is pretty crazy because I remember seeing that movie in theaters.
Yeah, I remember going too.
But yeah, no, I mean, to be honest with you, I think I love The Dark Knight, but I think it was I don't know, it was kind of ruined for me because when I first saw it in theaters, I was pretty young. How old were we in 2008?
So 10 years ago, we were like 12 years old.
Yeah, we were like 12 years old, and I feel that when I was watching it's such a complex superhero movie. It's something more than just a superhero movie.
Yeah, like a crime drama with superheroes.
Right. And it's very psychological. There's a lot of mature themes that a 12-year-old just kind of wouldn't get. And I was looking for something like the Avengers at the time.
Right.
And that's what I didn't get. And I still have that first impression of that movie. And, now I watch it, I'm like, this movie's incredible because, I mean, I'm old enough to understand the themes and, Nolan's an incredible filmmaker, but I feel like there's a little bit, it was kind of ruined for me because I first saw that movie when I was too young to watch it.
Because even compared to like Batman Begins, which was way more stylized, way more accurate to like 100%. The Batman comics and stuff, like it was like a huge leap in just like tone and quality.
Right. But yeah, that's pretty cool. So we also have QuakeCon 2018 coming in from August 9th to the 12th at the Gaylord Texan Resort and Convention Center. So we're going to be playing Doom Eternal, Fallout 76, and Rage 2 will be over there. So people can get their hands on that.
Can't wait to see Doom. I'm really excited for new Doom gameplay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little worried because I don't want just more polish. I want, because the game's already beautiful. It still holds up now, obviously, but I want something new. They got to bring something like completely new to the table to justify, the price tag. I'm sure they will, though. I have complete faith in Bethesda and ID. Okay, and then there was a new trailer for this Robert Rodriguez movie, which looks awesome. It's called Alita: Battle Angel.
Yeah.
And it now has a December release date. It was delayed. It was supposed to come out, I think, this summer.
Yeah.
But then now it's delayed until I think December 21st of this year. It looks really cool. It kind of looks like a live action anime.
It's based off of like a manga, which was adapted into an anime, which they're basing the movie off of.
Oh, okay. Do you know how they are?
I've never read it personally, or seen it, but I've seen kind of like some of like, I was like looking into it earlier, and I've seen like some of like the source material and stuff, and it's like it's going to be a lot closer to the like the anime adaptation. They've already done like a lot of changes from even like the last trailer. Like, I mean, the whole big thing is like her eyes, like having her kind of like big eyes. They kind of toned them down a little bit because people were a little too creeped out, which I know that's kind of what they're going for, like that kind of uncanniness, but like, I don't know, I'm really looking forward to it. I think that could be a very cool movie. And
I mean, Robert Rodriguez has experience with adapting different source material. Like he did Sin City, and
Sin City,
Sin City was great. So I have faith in him, and like he's kind of like a. Would you say that Robert Rodriguez is more of a kind of like an exploitation kind of director? Like he did Grindhouse with Quentin, and that was those are two exploitation movies. So I feel like he has that kind of edginess.
For
sure. Stylish.
He's very like, I don't think nostalgic is the right word, but he's very into like the kind of graphic novel kind of vibe about his movies, and like almost comic booky. Even like Predators was very kind of like stylized.
He directed Predators?
Robert Rodriguez, yeah.
Like the 2010 one that we saw? Really? I didn't know that.
And then obviously the world-renowned Spy Kids. Great movies.
Honestly, they're
very
great.
Philosophical.
They're great. I love them.
Steve Buscemi drops a lot of deep questions.
Wasn't Sylvester Stallone in like the third movie?
Yeah, he was the game master or whatever.
God. Oh Jesus!
And obviously Elijah Wood being the guy, best role of his lifetime. That was his breakout role. I mean, Lord of the Rings was whatever, but I mean, the guy, you can't beat that.
100%. Didn't he die too when he was first interviewed?
Like 5
I'm
minutes.
The guy. He dies. And he played a really creepy role. This is off topic, but Elijah Wood played a creepy role in Sin City. He played that like fucking serial killer that never opened his mouth and had that just like that flat grin.
Yeah.
Do you remember
Elijah
that?
Wood's, he's got range. He's got a lot of range because he was also in that show Wilfred.
Wilfred's pretty funny.
I liked. Yeah,
Wilfred's pretty funny.
He's a great actor. I like
he's pretty good. He also played that dead farting boner.
That was Daniel Radcliffe.
Oh, that was Daniel Radcliffe?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, right. They kind of look alike.
They do.
All right, so big news actually, if you're a fan of Star Wars The Clone Wars, the animated series is returning.
Huge news. Yeah.
Personally, I never watched it, but my little brother watched it and he loves it. And he said like the beginning part of the show is a little kiddie.
Yeah.
But it definitely is mature. And like there are it's like a regular Star Wars movie, but it's a long show, and it kind of shows like the things that we never got in the Clone Wars movie, where it shows like the development of Order 66 and how the clones are he told me that kind of delves into that the psychological stuff.
I watched most of the Clone Wars. I agree definitely with the point that it starts out very kind of geared more towards kids, kind of like Cartoon Network. But George Lucas had like a very big like hand in controlling this show, so like he told a lot of the stories he wanted to tell kind of through the prequels. So if you're a big Star Wars fan, I honestly would highly recommend watching it because it makes watching Revenge of the Sith a lot more like intense, because you get a lot more development with characters, you get a lot more background on characters, and things just make a lot more sense too. So like it fills in a lot of gaps. There's also just a lot of cool scenes in it. Like for being a kids show, it can get pretty gritty at points. So would recommend. The other show, Rebels, was meh.
Yeah, I heard Rebels was no good.
Rebels was that was on Disney XD, and so Disney had a lot more, I think, censorship kind of issues with it.
Disney's a huge mogul. They can do whatever they want.
It was a little rough, but still kind of okay at points. But definitely Clone Wars was better. So yeah, Clone Wars coming back is huge news because it left off season 6 and didn't get a proper finale. So a lot of people were disappointed. So that's big news.
I heard that they, like, over the years, since it's been canceled, released some unreleased footage, and then they use that in the trailer. The trailer's really cool. I know nothing about the show. I haven't watched it. I mean, I understand the concept of it, but it kind of shows, each helmet as it's going through. It's really cool. You guys should check out the trailer. It's pretty cool. But people are very excited about it. It was number 1 on trending on YouTube for quite a while.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, and then until a Fortnite video took over, fucking course.
Of course.
So this, you're gonna like to hear this. So there's this game that just came out. It's a demo. It's called Infliction. It releases in Halloween of this year, and it's kind of like think of it as a spiritual successor to PT. It's indie, but it's really, really good. So it has a lot of the same elements as the PT demo did too, but it has in 15 minutes, a 15 to 20 minute walkthrough of the demo if you take the time to explore the environment and read the notes and learn more about what's going on. But without really spoiling anything, you basically just wake up in a room laying in a blood splatter with your flashlight, and you're in this blank room, and you kind of learn that this house belonged to a family, but the father was like a security guard that was completely underpaid. He was making like $6,000 a year. I think this place takes place in the 80s. I think it takes place in the 80s as well, because you kind of get that reference in one of the notes. But the mother is also she's like an excellent artist that tried to get into an exhibition, but she submitted it too late, and now she's kind of fucked, not making any money. And then the dad kind of turned to drinking, and it has a lot of themes of alcoholism. And it's very, very creepy. It's the atmosphere is terrifying. Like, they have creepy paintings, everything textbook that makes something creepy, but take it up to the extreme. So what I really liked about it was more so than PT. It's think Gone Home, but and Gone Home, if you haven't played that game, it's fantastic. A lot of people had some shit to say about the ending. I thought it was cool. They thought it was going to be something it wasn't. But it's like Gone Home is kind of like it's a narrative-based game where you learn a story through interacting with your environment. There's no weapons, there's no enemies chasing you, but there are some moments of genuine horror in the game.
Yeah.
And think of Infliction as a Gone Home on steroids. It's a really great horror demo, and I'm very excited to see what happens. When it comes out this Halloween. But there are your typical jump scares, cheap jump scares, and then right at the very end of the demo, of course, they make you shit your pants with something. But it has a lot of promise, and it's an indie game. And then in the trailer, it shows other different scenes. So I know you're a big horror guy too, so it's definitely should be on your radar, especially if you guys were disappointed about the cancellation of PT.
No, yeah, I've looked into this game a little bit, and it looks promising. I think only a few things have been released, so it's kind of tough to say. But from what they've released of like the story wise, it looks unique enough to be like pretty enticing. I also it seems a little more interactive than like
you can basically
PT
interact
was.
with everything. Yeah.
PT was a little limited. Like, there's only like certain things you can like click and move and stuff. But this game seems a little more like the world is a little more dynamic. Hopefully that can mean like there's like kind of multiple routes and stuff. Yeah. I mean, we'll see when the game comes out, but I think it looks very promising.
Yeah. I mean, there's it kind of has a layers of fear feeling to it as well. Yeah. But it has more interaction with the environment than Layers of Fear.
Yeah. Layers of Fear it's
really good.
Very good. Yeah. Very good. Very. Yeah, kind of not interactive though. Like it was very linear. You had like certain puzzles. Simulator. Yeah, but honestly, Layers of Fear made me shit myself a couple times.
Very, very scary. There was actually one scene that I remember. I played this game years ago before I think it was in early access, but before it completely released. It was a scene where you go into this child's room. It has like one of those light up carousels. Yes. And you're going around, it's darkness, and all the dolls are moving around every time you circle back. Each of the dolls are moving. It's Oh my god! If you guys haven't seen that, look that up on YouTube or play the game. It's so freaky.
Very good.
But yeah, Infliction is like a horror gone home, and it has a pretty engaging and interesting story. So something to keep on your radar. Halloween 2018. What's this? Okay, so Green Hell is It's an early access game releasing on the 29th of August. It's kind of, if you ever heard of the game The Forest.
Yeah.
Forest it's a game where you crash land on like this island. And you're hunted by cannibals. You have to find your son.
Survival.
It's a survival type game. And Green Hell, it looks like a prettier forest. So I said on my notes, I said Forest 2 without cannibals.
Yeah.
You fight like alligators and crocodiles. It looks pretty.
More like straight up survival. Yeah.
It doesn't look that interesting. I mean, it looks like the forest, but without cannibals.
But without any interesting elements to it. Right. It's kind of very just straight up survival.
Right.
So if it's made well, like that could be good, but. Yeah, they're not offering much new.
I don't know. I'm not one to spend more than $10 on an early access game.
Oh, absolutely.
Unless it's, like Fortnite is technically still considered early access, but it's a very polished early access game.
Right, yeah.
Same with PUBG. So then another big news, Chris Hardwick is back as the Talking Dead host. Originally Chris Hardwick, there was some sexual misbehavior allegations against him from his past girlfriend. AMC took him off and used his co-host to be the new host. But after a huge investigation, after several week-long investigation, Chris Hardwick is back, and he will be back for season 9, which is good. He's a good personality to. I mean, personally, I like The Walking Dead. I watch the show, but I don't stay around for Talking Dead. But if you're a fan of Talking Dead, he's back. Westworld season 2. I read a thing that the show received a lot of backlash in its second season for being, get this, too complex. Can you believe that?
No, yeah, I remember reading about this.
That honestly, I don't even want to spend that much time on that because it's so stupid.
Yeah,
you're complaining about a show being too complex. Why don't you get smart?
Which is very interesting because. Look at like Game of Thrones. It starts out very complex.
Game of Thrones is one of the hardest shows.
Highly complex.
Yeah.
That being said, though, watching how far Game of Thrones has come, like obviously this is a whole debate on its own. The show has significantly simplified its plots, though.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if that's kind of like has anything to do with it. Like if they're noticing like views go up, maybe if the plots are more easy to follow.
Yeah.
I don't know, but like I'm actually going through a rewatch currently of Game of Thrones. And just like noticing the huge difference in like season 1 and 2 with like more political overtones, a lot more subtle moments versus like season 7 where it's just like nonstop crazy action and like intensity. So
I think the show, the correct way to say it would be more, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like the show got more cinematic, more TV.
Oh yeah.
And like the first part of it's very intimidating, like the books.
Yeah.
Like it's more like the books. But I think that's stupid. I think usually people complain about things not being smart enough.
Right.
And now it's too complex for the average person. But Westworld is one of HBO's biggest shows. It's gonna be fine.
Read a fucking synopsis or something.
Exactly.
Like it's not that hard.
I know. Stupid. Another HBO thing. HBO programming president Casey Bloys promises the network won't change despite the big merge between Time Warner and AT&T for $85.4 billion. He basically said AT&T has been very complimentary with what we do, and that's a direct quote from Casey. This big ass merge is not going to be a problem. A lot of people were worrying that a lot of the HBO programming would be changed up, but good thing it's not. But there also was another article after that I kind of skimmed, basically saying that because are you aware of the several Game of Thrones spinoff shows that are supposed to be coming out? Apparently, a lot of them might not be happening because of this merge, but Casey denies that. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
This is actually gonna be fun to talk about. So Halo Fireteam Raven, have you ever heard of it?
Yeah, I have.
So it's like the Dave & Buster's exclusive. I think it's a timed exclusive, but I kind of want to go to Dave & Buster's to try it out.
I'm willing to try it out too. It actually looked very fun from what I saw.
So for those of you that don't know, it's kind of like it's an on-rail shooter in the Halo, set in the Halo universe. You play several different ODSTs with some backgrounds. It's critically being It
got very good reviews.
For an on-rail shooter. It's a 45-minute campaign. They said that within the 45 minutes there's a bunch of levels, and they said that you're gonna die maybe once or twice in between the levels. They said that altogether, if you wanna complete the game with your buddies for 45 minutes, it's gonna wind up costing you around $20. Which, if I go to Dave & Buster's, that's the only game I'm gonna play if I'm spending $45.
Oh, absolutely.
But then again, that's the only reason why I would be going to Dave & Buster's.
I feel like if you go with like your buddies, grab a beer and pitch in for that, like that sounds like a hell of a good time to me.
Yeah, and Master Chief makes an appearance. I was watching some gameplay. Looks really fun. So if you want to go sometime, we'll grab a beer.
Very much so.
Crack open a cold one and shoot some
with the boys, with the ODSTs.
With the ODST boys. And we were talking about this the other day. Remember how I said Slender Man is releasing on August 10th, and they only had one trailer?
New trailer.
There's a new trailer that just came out, and it looks pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I don't like the girls.
That's what I was. Yeah, that was my big gripe. They're very much pandering to like. I mean, it makes sense. They're going for like their general target audience with that.
Yeah.
But it's essentially it's just a bunch of teenage girls are the main characters, and I mean, like from what the trailer seemed like, their acting seemed whatever. I think it's just going to be a little harder to get a good story out of that. It's also, correct me if I'm wrong, PG-13, right?
Yeah, that's a bit. I actually wrote down. So the official rating is PG-13 for disturbing images, sequences of terror, thematic elements, and language, including some sexual references. So it's a pretty meaty PG-13. But when I have a horror movie, this is my gripe. I need it to be R-rated. When I say R-rated, it doesn't have to be bloody and overly violent and overly sexual. When I say R-rated, something like Hereditary, where it's so traumatizing and scary that it's only for adults. It's intended for adults.
It needs to hit you hard.
Yeah,
I agree.
And some people are saying like, oh, it's okay that it's PG-13 because it's the games and all this stuff. There's not really any blood. You just kind of see Slender Man and the screen shakes and then it's a jump scare.
Right.
But that's not what I'm talking about. It should be rated R because when something is rated R, it doesn't have to have, everything that makes a rated R movie rated R. It should be scary.
Like by being PG-13, you're including kids under 13 in your ideal version of it. So that being said, it's like there's going to be limits to it. And like again, going back to like the main characters of it, I think there's going to be I think it's just going to be a very simple movie, maybe with some scary moments, maybe with some cool, if you're a fan of like the Slenderman lore or whatever, like I'm sure it'll have like some cool moments in it, but I don't have high hopes for it, if I'm being honest.
As of right now, I'm going to see it, but if the ratings come back awful, I'm not going to spend money to see it. Yeah. But that's a bit of a bummer that's PG-13, but whatever, can't do anything about it. All right, so the Xbox games with gold have been recently announced, and they're actually sick. Like, it's a really exciting games with gold. So in the month of August, on August 1st, we're going to get Forza Horizon 2, which, Forza Horizon 3 is out, and then Forza Horizon 4 is coming out this year, or early next year, I don't remember. But Forza Horizon 2 is a great game if you're a big fan of racing sims. It's more of a arcadey. I don't mean it's arcadey, but it's more arcadey than the Forza simulator games.
It's it's closer to like Midnight Club,
right?
Rather than just like the racing and like car building simulators,
right? And this next one's exciting. On August 16th, For Honor is actually going to be free.
Ooh.
So For Honor, I never got into it because I heard that 90-something% of its fan base dropped out within like the end of the month. But then now, after constant updates and seasonal updates, the community's back and it's thriving. But I was always intimidated to jump back in there because of the price tag, because I was scared that, the fan base is very good, advanced, have better gear, and I would just be, some freaking newbie going in there. But yeah, no, I'm probably going to download it. It's free. There's no risk.
Backlash. Yeah, exactly.
Risk. And if you don't like it, just uninstall it. Dead Space 3 is available for Xbox 360, Xbox One on August 1st to the 15th. I love Dead Space. Dead Space 3 is kind of like, if it was like Dead Space 1 or Dead Space 2, I'd be like, oh, okay, that's a definite buy. And I mean, don't start the series on Dead Space 3.
Oh, absolutely.
You have to start it on it's one of those series where you kind of have to start you have to start on the first game.
You have to watch the progression of it. Yeah. It's like all part of it.
Yeah. And then, sorry, what were you saying?
I personally, like, I liked Dead Space 3. Like, I actually had a blast playing it.
We played co-op one or two times.
I think we did, yeah. And the co-op was fine. It works, but
diminishes the horror though.
Diminishes the horror, and yeah, that's the big gripe with it is Dead Space 3 is just not scary. Yeah. Like, it just wasn't scary at all. It was an action game.
It's not really Dead Space. If you took out Dead Space and took out Isaac, it's not Dead Space really.
But like, regardless, it's a fun game. It reminded me. I don't know if you've ever played this game, Lost Planet.
Like, no, I know a lot about it.
Long time ago. That was like one of my first.
Is it good?
360 games actually. It was a lot of fun.
It was Lost Planet 3 or
like the original Lost Planet.
Oh, okay.
Where it's like you're in like this snowy world and you have like health as well as like thermal energy you have to collect to like stay warm. And yeah, like the enemies are very similar looking. They're like big bug creatures and stuff.
Cool.
So yeah, reminded me of that, but still fun game. Yeah, so I'd consider it.
I mean, only if you play the other two, though.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And then this last one is a complete dud, but Epic Mickey 2 on August 15th.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
But I actually watched a video recently that Epic Mickey 1 came out for the Wii, and it was a massive success because it came out, I think, in holiday of that year. When the Wii was still thriving, and it was one of the only kids games to come out, so everybody's like, oh, I'm gonna get this game for my kid because it's new and it's for the Wii, so I'm just gonna get it. It was a massive success. Then they're like, let's release Epic Mickey 2, and it was a complete failure because it was after the Wii and no one cared about it. It wasn't a good game.
Epic Goofy, come on.
I mean, seriously. H1Z1, which is like the battle royale. It's one of the first battle royales. It's like a PUBG, but it's free to play. It's free to play, excuse me. It leaves the beta for the PS4 and it launches officially on August 7th. It's by Daybreak. Daybreak Games announced that the other day. So personally, I don't care. But yeah, if you're a fan, go grab it.
Do it.
Almost done here. Episode 9, Star Wars Episode 9 officially begins production on August 1st. And they're actually using Hamill's back.
Yeah, full cast was released. Most Last Jedi stars are returning, including, what was her name?
Carrie Fisher? Well, she's no, they're using unreleased footage.
The unreleased footage from The Force Awakens for her. So it's probably going to be a very small role.
Definitely.
I'm wondering how that'll work. I think it'll probably be okay. I'm not too worried if I'm being honest. Yeah. I care more honestly about just what the other characters are gonna do.
Yeah, Lando's back.
Lando's back. Billy D. Williams is gonna reprise his role. And yeah, no. So and then I didn't see Benicio del Toro on the list. I might have missed him.
He was kind of like was he introduced in Last Jedi?
Yeah,
he was honestly I didn't care for his character.
I was wondering if he was going to be a one-off or not. So I guess he is.
That whole casino scene was.
I think they're just they're
in my
really
opinion
trying to ignore a lot of the things about that movie. But
that's our opinion.
Mark Hamill's back.
Yep.
Pretty much confirming Force Ghost of Luke.
Yeah.
Or something along the lines of that, or flashback. Who knows? But either way, I'm happy Hamill's back. I'm wondering if people will be more happy now with like how they'll handle Luke's character.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit, honestly.
Well, JJ's set to direct.
Yeah, which is also I'm happy about that.
A lot of people aren't though. They actually signed a petition for him not to direct it.
They also signed a petition to remake The Last Jedi.
Oh my god. There's
a lot of petitions going around.
No one is happy. No one is happy when it comes to Star Wars. Jesus. It's ridiculous.
No one hates Star Wars more than Star Wars fans.
This is my response. You fucking make the movie. You make the movie. You see how fucking hard it is.
Yeah, honestly.
Jesus.
I'm happy. I'm happy JJ's back though, because at least it'll be tonally consistent. You know what I mean?
JJ's good.
I like JJ. Yeah.
It's not like some random who's directing it.
Right.
Colin Trevorrow, the guy who made the first Jurassic World, directed it. He was supposed to be set to direct Episode 9.
He dropped out pretty early. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm fine. I don't care. Yeah. It's another Star Wars. I'm happy.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's the last in the Skywalker series, so let's pray that it's a good. I liked The Last Jedi. I had gripes about it.
I liked Last Jedi.
So did I.
They're not perfect movies, but tell me what a perfect Star Wars movie is.
I mean, A New Hope was. That's like, but. People complained about the Force Awakens being too close or too much like A New Hope. So it's like, what do you want? Rian Johnson changed that. He made something that was different.
Yep.
And everybody's like, no, that's not Star Wars.
Different.
It's not Star Wars.
Hashtag not my Luke.
It's stupid.
Yeah. That's a whole other podcast.
Yeah,
right there.
we have so many other podcast ideas just for making these podcasts, but we'll definitely explore that because we both have a very similar feeling about The Last Jedi.
Oh yeah,
we kind of like it. All right, so before we jump into the main thing of difficulty with your kind of topic, I also wanted to talk for a couple minutes about this idea of adult only games, the AO games. And yeah, so I just kind of want to delve into that. So adult only games are for 18 plus. You don't see a lot of them around because
not huge market, I imagine, and very limiting.
So like companies like GameStop will not be allowed to. They won't sell them. Yeah. So people who generally get an AO rating in the beginning want to change it because it could really affect the sales of their game.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was doing some research and I found 3 games that were rated AO that weren't Japanese hentai porn games.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of hentai
solid,
games. Yeah. And I was looking them up. I'm like, oh, this sounds interesting. I click on it. It's like a link to hentai porn. It's like, I can't do this.
Is it on Steam?
Yeah, so one of the games that I found was Thrill Kill. If you've ever heard, it was a PlayStation 1 game. It never got released. It was canceled. It was basically, think Mortal Kombat, but it was about these weird, demented creatures fighting. It was a Mortal Kombat style. It was a 3D arena, so it wasn't 2D, and it was about them basically beating the shit out of each other and killing them with. It was Mortal Kombat. It was a knockoff Mortal Kombat, but the sexual way the female characters dressed.
Which is surprising because Mortal Kombat's like already pretty heavily sexualized with its like female characters.
Yeah. So I'm gonna quickly show you, Joe, some of the fatalities here, and then like just so you get
an idea. Get a little taste of it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So
all right. So there's a man ripped out of his head with a chain.
So far, not very violent.
Yeah,
more
not too
violent.
Bad.
Yeah, so just ripped off his legs.
Yeah, he's like they're like weird. Like it looks like the clay face from Batman.
Yeah, so honestly, I don't understand.
Oh, that's good. Okay, we're getting a little kinky here. Oh boy.
Yeah, so mainly it was the way some of the female characters were dressed that they got. But then again, Mortal Kombat, they were dressed very scantily as well.
Right. Yeah. This seems.
Yeah, you just. Okay.
It's also very old graphics.
Yeah.
So like for nowadays compared to what we've seen.
Yeah, look, like it showed an ass. Yeah. Like they just showed an ass.
There you go. So I think it was for its time.
Yeah, and one of the guys in the game, one of the characters in the game is he just doesn't have any arms. Like this guy right here, he's just in a surgical.
Yeah, he's in like a hospital like scrub, and
his butt's out.
Yeah.
So yeah, you
just kind of silly more than anything.
Yeah.
I imagine it was like AO just for like the
It says for animated blood, gore, and violence and sexual references. But I can see that I think was
for its time, yeah.
But then again, Mortal Kombat was in the arcades since I think late 80s, early 90s.
But I guess Mortal Kombat didn't show any actual butt.
Okay.
I guess that's where
I guess
that's where the line is drawn, I guess.
Whatever. Okay, yeah, so that's one of them. And next one is Manhunt 2. So Manhunt 2...
Oh, yeah, I know Manhunt 2.
It's a very fucked up game if you guys have never seen it.
Fun fact, when I first got the Wii, for like, I don't know, my 10th birthday or something, I was super excited. I got 2 games, which I was excited for. I got Shadow the Hedgehog. Fucking phenomenal game for any edgy preteen who likes Sonic, and Manhunt 2 for my aunt, because she's like, I know you kids like you like the violent games, so I saw this one looked kind of violent, and it is. Yeah, immediately my mom was like, yeah, you guys are not playing this.
It's a different kind of violent. It's kind of like usually people play video games, like violent video games, kind of because it's kind of fun and it has like a kind of campiness
it's like fantasy and like
but this is actually sick and twisted.
It's like because like it's essentially kind of like a stealth game, but it's like the takedowns are in very disturbing ways, very practical ways to kill people.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like very stylized. Like, like you shoot his arms off and then like stick him to a wall with like a javelin or whatever. It's like you
like saw a guy's neck open.
Saw his neck open, or you choke him with a plastic bag, like shit like that. It's just very.
What's it about? Like, what do you remember? What
You're literally like, I think, just like an escaped convict, if I remember correctly. Like I didn't enjoy it. It wasn't even that fun, if I'm being honest. Okay. But it was it was just very like twisted because it's very.
Did Rockstar publish that?
I think so.
Or did they develop it? I know they were attached to it somehow.
I think that they might have developed it. I don't know if they actually published it.
Yeah, but I mean, I watched some videos on it, and it made the news. And interesting fact was, so it was originally an AO rated game, but when it came to the Wii, it had to be censored enough so it would get a mature rating.
I remember. I got
basically the M rating. It was pushing the M-rated line. It was, if you look on the back, it was literally like blood and gore, sexual themes, strong sexual content, strong language. It was everything.
Yeah.
But if you want to play the uncensored version, the way it was it was made, you can play that on PC. But it's already pretty violent enough. Honestly. Oh, wow, that is a disgusting bug. So there's a giant-ass bug crawling by us. And then, okay, so this one's actually more recent. I think it came out in 2015. It's called Hatred. It's on Steam. You play bird eyes view of this mass murderer who just hates everything. And you go on killing sprees. Yeah, you can execute people on the ground. It's very, very violent and sick and twisted. And there are mods to make it like third person, so you're up close into the action, so you can see everything closer. And you just go outside with an assault rifle and mow people down. It's stupid. It's not. It doesn't look fun. If I played it, I would feel bad playing it. It's kind of similar to this one game made by a Russian developer on Steam recently, who made a school shooting simulator, a school shooter simulator.
I feel like I've heard about that. Yeah.
Where you can play the school shooter, or you can play, or you can play the SWAT people taking them down, and that is completely unacceptable.
That's fucked.
And it took Steam and Valve. It took Valve too long to take it off of Steam. It was completely unacceptable. Valve didn't take it down because of the content matter. They took it down because the Russian developer hid up behind an alias developer, and they're known for releasing games that push this kind of standard that was set in the United States. And it was just such a stupid. There was outrage everywhere, globally outrage. And the game was eventually taken down. But when they talked to the Russian developer, he was like, "Oh, I didn't know that mass murders are big in the United States." It's such bullshit. Yeah. It's such bullshit. Like, fuck you, and yeah, fuck your game.
Yeah. Wow.
So yeah, that's school shooter. But Hatred is also another sick game that shouldn't be on Steam, but it is. It was met with terrible reviews. People still can't play it.
Yeah, just like doesn't sound appealing.
And I read some of the reviews on Steam that was honestly quite disturbing. Like, I read one who was like, if you're feeling pretty mad one day, just get on the game and shoot a bunch of people. It's like, oh god.
I mean, it's kind of interesting because it's like you also have Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah.
But it's almost like, because Grand Theft Auto is more like comical in its approach to it, and it's kind of like satire. Yeah, because it's like people are like purposely really obnoxious and stupid in that game, like. But yeah, when it's like the game, the purpose of the game is not to do that. Like, you have plenty of other options. But when a game is designated to go around just shooting people, like it's a little different.
Yeah, it's. I mean, like one of the objectives. I was watching some gameplay before the podcast. Is one of the objectives of the game is you're walking on the street and you see a party full of a bunch of teenagers, and then the objective comes up on the top screen, like, kill as many people in the party as possible. It's just stupid and like sick.
It's just like edgy for the sake of being gross and edgy.
Yeah, so I don't agree with it, but it's still on Steam if you want to buy it for like $20.
Yeah,
but yeah. All right, so that's all. I mean, we can continue talking about adult rated games. Like, it basically explained everything. You don't see, they're very rare. Because if they normally cannot be distributed to most
exactly. Not a lot of places to sell it, not a lot of market demand. So
so they're
not a huge deal, honestly. Most M games are brutal enough.
Yeah,
You know what I
really
mean?
violent
Like, so
now.
like it's not like AO honestly makes much of a difference.
Yeah.
It's just like that next level of like if you really want to play something twisted,
Right.
but
But
I'm good with Dead Space, you know what I mean?
Yeah, the media has gone, like film and television, if you look back, decades from when it first started to where it is now, like we are, violence and sex is being pushed every day in television and film and in video games.
Absolutely. And
Every
it
day.
sells. It sells.
It does. I mean, because like, let's be real. This might sound weird, but who wants to play Viva Pinata when they can be playing Grand Theft Auto, where you can steal cars, run over people, make your own life, basically do whatever you want.
I
You know what
mean, okay, don't shit on Viva Pinata here.
I
Let's not get too far. But no, I agree with you. Like when it's like you have games that like just appeal to like it's like a release of like just like kind of like a primal sense of like I want to kill a person, I want to shoot a person, and you don't have consequences.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that's not all people play video games for, obviously, but like that's a big reason, and it's entertaining.
I think one of the games that should be mentioned, as kind of like the precursor to extreme video games and kind of kind of led the way to it, is Conker's Bad Fur Day.
Oh my god!
Which released at the very end of the
That
Nintendo
game
64's life.
Fucking hilarious.
But because it's very dated for me, so I kind of tend to choose the kind of it's a remaster, but also they kind of rework some stuff in the game. But Conker Live and Reloaded, and it added a multiplayer as well. I loved that
Which
game.
weirdly was kind of fun. I remember playing it multiplayer, and I was like, "Oh, this is actually kind of enjoyable."
It's it's a bare bones third person Call of Duty type of game.
It's funny just how Conker itself, though. I remember having that game for my Game Boy Color.
Really?
Like
Conker.
Conker
Game for the Color.
It was Conker's.
Oh, Street Race. Wasn't he like? It was like a Mario Kart?
No, it was even before that. It was like it's literally like it was like a kind of like a Zelda type, just like kind of adventure exploring game.
Was it a kids game?
Yeah, like literally like no violence, no tits, no whatever. It was just like
squirrel tits.
Just squirrel. Yeah, no furry tits or anything. It was just like you're literally like a chipmunk. You're walking around. So like it's weird that the developers took that approach to it. I guess they realized that the game didn't sell well or whatever.
It didn't sell well because number one, it was at the end of Nintendo 64's life, and also it was just they took a kids game and made it into something. When you look at the Nintendo 64, you think of Mario Kart, you think of Zelda, you think of all those games. It's like demographic for kids, and this is not. This is more of a mature demographic, and I'm very happy that who made it? Who made it? People who made Sea of Thieves and Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts.
Was it Namco?
No, damn it! It's on the tip of my tongue. Rare made.
That was it. Yeah.
So I'm glad that it got a second life in Conker Live and Reloaded. There was a bunch of talks about them making another Conker game, but unfortunately we have not gotten there. And I love Conker. I love it. But yeah, so that's all I really wanted to talk about with the adult games and kind of what led the way towards violent video. Mortal Kombat also had a huge impact in violence in video games as well, because it started in the arcade I think in the mid to late 80s.
And it was like for that time it was very violent.
Yeah.
Nowadays it's like nothing, but
yeah. All right, so Joe, you want to lead the way into what we're going to be talking about?
Right. So actually, before we do talk about like the like kind of difficulty in games, I do have a little bit of news because there's been a lot of stuff going on this week for so any Overwatch fans out there who are listening.
Nope.
For anyone who's listening, so we have new hero dropped this week, Wrecking Ball.
What's his name?
Wrecking Ball.
It's called Wrecking. Is that the hamster?
Well, people call him Hammond because it's honestly a better name than Wrecking Ball.
Oh, Hammond's not the...
Hammond is the name of the hamster, but he goes by the name Wrecking Ball.
Oh, okay.
I guess I kind of forget the lore. He's like a gladiator or something. Like he fought in like arenas, but it's wildly crazy because...
Is it fun?
Yeah, he is a lot. Because you essentially have two modes. You have your regular kind of crawl around and shoot people mode, which is okay. Like, he's not a great tank compared to other ones, but he has another mode, the ball mode, where you literally go into like a sphere and you just roll around running over people, and you have a grappling hook that can like attach to surfaces, and you can just swing around and like literally become a wrecking ball.
Can you, if you hit someone while you're swinging, can it kill them?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, really?
It's
That's
pretty
so
devastating.
Cool. Oh, wow.
and he's got like shields and stuff. He also has like a minefield is his superpower. Like he can lay out just like a bunch of mines. And he's a fun hero. He's very different than any character, more physics based than any character that's
balanced?
come out. At this point, not really. Like they need to do some tweaking with him because his wrecking ball ability is like devastating. It can literally like clear an entire area right now.
Well, since we're on the topic of difficulty, is Hammond a difficult? Because you said it's more physics based. Is it difficult to play?
He's definitely more. Takes a lot of getting used to because his strategy, like characters like I don't know, like Genji or McCree, like they have a very clear kind of set of abilities and strategies to them. Whereas Wrecking Ball, you're like, all right, how do I become a Wrecking Ball? Like how do I make that work for this? And it's very different each match, obviously, but I would say because of that, yeah, he's kind of more difficult to learn, but still fun. Kind of on a side note, also, I don't know if you heard this, Overwatch has been moved to ESPN for the finals.
Really?
Yeah. Has not been met well by ESPN viewers.
Oh, yeah, no. I'm
not surprised at all.
They better get used to it, though, because esports is on the...
It is the future.
It's going to be a $1.9 billion industry by the
like
2025.
Their Twitter page has been, like, trying to shut down as many, like, haters as possible. Just, like, people are like, this is the future, just chill out. I kind of get it, though. Like, if you're tuning into ESPN, you want to watch, like real live sports.
But
and
professional gaming is now considered a sport. People are getting scholarships.
I absolutely agree. But for anyone, like you can kind of casually turn on a game of tennis, or not really tennis, but like football, or like I don't know why tennis came to mind.
I like tennis.
No, I like tennis too, but I don't know why. Or what was I saying? You can turn on like a game of football or baseball or whatever, and you can kind of follow what's going on pretty easily. Overwatch, I will say, if you're not like if you don't play video games at all, or even if you do but you don't play Overwatch, that game is just literally like watching the pros play is like just watching a bunch of colors flash on screen. Like you have no idea what's going on.
But if you compare that to a game, so it's more. If you compare that to like Counter-Strike is very easy to understand. If you watch Counter-Strike, you're like, oh, it's terrorist versus counter-terrorist.
Yeah.
But let's say you turn on, and there is some similarities with Overwatch, but if you turn on a game like League of Legends, which I have no idea what it's about.
No idea.
I know it's a MOBA.
Yeah.
But I have, I just never really found an interest in it, and I feel like if I didn't know anything about video games at all, watching it, I'd be lost, and I wouldn't want to watch that. So it's understandable why there is a lot of hate for it, but they have to get used to it because
I agree.
Esports is on the rise, and it's here to stay.
I agree, and I'm like, I was happy to hear that. Like, I was like kind of shocked, but I was like, that's just huge. That like a major network is like picking up an esport. Like that's never been really done before. So that's big news. They also, as a side funny note, had DJ Khaled as their performance, which they couldn't have picked a worse like performer because like that's not really the demographic, and just like it was
major key DJ Khaled.
It was like go look up footage on like Twitch or whatever.
I'm sure it's awkward as fuck.
It is hilarious because you get like I want to say a quarter of the audience like playing along with him.
Oh God,
he's just like I say DJ, you say Khaled, DJ Khaled, DJ Khaled.
Oh God, yeah, no, and people don't understand. The people who are holding these events don't understand that. Esports demographic, I think it was around age 17 to 36 or something like that.
Yeah.
It's a very large demographic. But people, and from conventions too, like BlizzCon, I watch videos, because I took an esports class for my final semester of college, and no person in that demographic, or in esports in general, want to really dance to dubstep-y music or dance to music in general.
There's a huge disconnect.
Even in E3. Did you watch that?
Oh,
Andrew WK or whatever his name was, he performed. He was like, so into it, and everybody in the crowd was just like, when's he done?
Well, because that was before the Bethesda conference, right?
Right. Everybody's like, all right,
because people were just like, we want to see Elder Scrolls. Gamers are, they're not necessarily like the most hype crowd all the time. We'd rather
they're more hype on the games.
Right. They're more hype on the games. We'd rather kind of just go, chill out, have fun. We don't. Yeah, I agree. Like, there's not necessarily always a need for like live entertainment and shows and stuff. That's not what you go there for.
There was actually a funny story there. So what I learned in class was, so basically Valve creates this competition which has like $1 million. I think the last one had like about a $20 million prize pool.
Wow.
And it was called the International, and it's for I think it's Dota. I think Dota 2 is the game that they play. But it's this huge event. Valve makes so much money. They also sell compendiums on Steam where people can do bets and do challenges through Steam, and it makes so much money. I think it was like $20 a pop to get the compendium, or $10, maybe a little less. But they make so much money off of this, and teams become overnight millionaires. But when it was going on, Bud Light was one of the sponsors, and they had like a huge Bud Light thing in the center, and there was a picture of no one there. No one was going to grab a beer. No, like, they have to know their community before they set this thing up.
Yeah.
So that's one of the big things. But enough about that. We can talk about that in a later podcast. Let's get to the nitty gritty. So difficulty. You want to talk about that?
So I think I think we're at a very interesting point with games right now, because we're seeing a lot of mainstream games, I think, and like you could probably agree with this, like, just become a lot easier, or not even necessarily easier, but more pandering to like a more general audience. Like, they've become much more simplified as to compared to like what they used to be. Like, look at games like even like arcade games. It used to be way more about like
Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah, but it used to be more about like oh my god, that game was
that game.
Yeah, many controllers were broken.
Yeah. And then they did that re-release recently.
Yeah,
I bought that for the PS4, sold it back five days later because it was completely unhealthy. I already broke my $60 PS4 controller. It was just a bad idea, but it's very addictive. And
it is, and that's the thing about like games that used to be much more difficult back in the day. I feel like they had that addictive quality because because it was so like kind of skill based and stuff. You kind of had this like feeling of like you just need to get better, and like you just need to get past that one part, and then like you do it and you get like the fucking endorphin rush or whatever, and you're like, yeah, and then you kind of keep going. But I feel like games, a lot of games at least, kind of have lost that nowadays.
Well, because games back then were more about the difficulty and about beating levels. We don't say nowadays we don't say, oh, I beat that level. It's like, no, I finished the story. I'm playing multiplayer. There's no levels anymore. It's not level based anymore, except like Doom. But Doom was nostalgic while also being kind of modern. But saying that, if we're talking about difficulty, I feel like we have to bring up this series. The Dark Souls Bloodborne series.
And that's the interesting point.
From Software.
How there is kind of a niche like group of games coming back that are bringing insane amounts of difficulty back to the board, and people love it.
Masochists love it.
Yeah, like people love Dark Souls. People love Bloodborne. Like you
played both, right?
I have. I actually found Bloodborne. I didn't get too far, but I actually found it to be a little easier.
You didn't beat it?
No.
Okay.
I don't have time to like.
Yeah.
I mean, I one day I'll beat it, but like I always get so distracted and just kind of like forget about it.
See, my thing on difficulty with video games is I don't want a game that's too easy. Right. I like games that are easy to learn, hard to master.
Yeah,
so,
I agree.
And I like two separate games. If I'm talking about a multiplayer game, that's what I mean. If I'm trying to play a game for its narrative, like let's say, a GTA or a Sleeping Dogs type game, like I play those games for the narrative. I don't want them to be so hard because I want to be able to
progress.
Yeah. Like, can they have some challenges to overcome? Yes. But when they become when challenges are unfair, that's the thing about Dark Souls. It's always fair.
Yeah.
Like, it may seem like it's unfair.
But it's like they also like what you're getting into with Dark Souls.
Yeah.
Like, Dark Souls is a game that doesn't hide its difficulty or doesn't like mask it up.
Yeah.
It's like, they made a game called like the Prepare to Die edition.
Yeah.
Where like literally like they up the difficulty for people who are truly insane. So, like I think to some people that difficulty is an appeal, and if that's like what they're promising, then that's great. But I agree in like saying if I'm playing a story game and there's just a level that's just not well made, and it's just hard because like they didn't really consider how difficult it would be to get past that point. That's aggravating because then it's just like this is just bullshit.
If you can adapt and what From Software games want you to do is they want you to take things slow. Unless like Bloodborne's more sped up, like they want you to be aggressive, whereas Dark Souls more.
But it has
defensive.
its own slow style as well. Like it's like aggression is the strategy, but there's still like a lot of like kind of technique to it, which I like.
Technique. But basically what I learned from Bloodborne is that if let's say you get hit, and if you hit them back within a specific amount of time, you can regain the health that you lost.
Which I love.
But that's the exact opposite of Dark Souls 2.
Yeah, Dark Souls is punishing.
Dark Souls 2 especially, where like
I couldn't even play it. Like it
sucked. I mean, great game. A lot of people love it. I just cannot stand it.
And like I honestly respect the people who can get through Dark Souls and just like casually beat it. Like because I am not one of those people. Yeah. I agree. Like I play games more so also for story, for like kind of just also like like kind of just sometimes to escape and relax. Like I'm very big on that, and so like when I play Dark Souls, I'm not relaxed. I'm like on edge. Like I'm constantly like worried and anxious that like I'm gonna lose so much progress.
I lent you the first Dark Souls, and I think a week later I came over your house and the
I sent you a
box
picture.
Was
I sent
smashed.
you a picture of the box completely destroyed. It was not a good time for me.
No, that's the thing. Like it's not enjoyable to play.
No.
For me and you, it's just not enjoyable because it's so difficult. Like I respect the game because I'm just not that kind of gamer.
I agree.
I don't like it.
I'm not a hardcore gamer at all. I'm I would say just a casual. Like I'm very just kind of like laid back. Like again, like I like to play games to like kind of just relax and chill, and like not have to worry about too much adaptation. Like one game I want to kind of say is like Cuphead.
Yeah. I love Cuphead.
That was a great level of difficulty because it was hard as hell. Like it was not
That's an understatement.
Easy, but each boss and each level had such like a specific kind of like pattern to it. And Cuphead was all about learning and adapting, which I loved. And like Cuphead was like kind of like a very simplified version of that. So like each boss became, and also like
the co-op too.
Unlike and also unlike Dark Souls, if you die, you don't start back from like the beginning. You know what I mean? Like not literally, but like it's a lot more forgiving because it's like you die at a boss, you just start the boss over. And it was hard, but like you get that sense of like progress very slowly, and that's what the game is about. And so Cuphead I thought was a great way to do difficulty.
And plus it's just such a charming looking game too.
It is, yeah. It's very easy on the eyes. Great soundtrack too. Oh, yeah. And like awesome art design.
Aesthetically, it's just beautiful.
Whereas Dark Souls is very, very bleak, very sad.
The thing about Cuphead is even though it's hard as fuck, I always felt like I could beat the boss. Yeah. I and that's the thing about Cuphead. I would die 50 times and I'd be like, okay, I'm going to try this one more time because I know what I did wrong and I know I can beat it. Remember we played, there was one level where we were in plains and we were fighting off against this giant bird that was trapped in its like bird nest or birdhouse. Yeah. And it was so difficult, but after like 20 times, 50 times, 100 times,
like 30 shots of vodka.
We were also drinking during it, but we always knew like, okay, we know what we did wrong. Let's just do it again. It's just a matter of getting like this. We know what to do. It's just okay. It's like it's very precise with its controls. Yeah. But yeah, no, Cuphead's a great game. Those are one of the games that I actually enjoy to play, especially with a friend. I have to play with a friend.
Oh yeah, I can't Cuphead, really play it by myself. The co-op is like. It's like a bonding experience
with
really someone because you like learn together and you gotta like cooperate and stuff.
Great drinking game too.
It really is, yeah. Kind of like still on topic with this. I'm thinking of like kind of going back to what I was saying about how games just like games that feel cheap. Yeah. Because like Dark Souls, as tough as it is, I wouldn't call it a cheap game because again, it's like you know what you're getting into. It pretty much like from the beginning will kick your ass if you're not ready. So it's not like it like tricks you at any point.
Well, there are tricks.
Well, there's tricks, yes, but like they're purposely like kind of
in marketing. You mean?
Yeah, but not even in marketing. But I'm thinking specifically of Halo. Okay. And specifically, I'm remembering like I played through all the games on Legendary at this point.
Those were fun.
Even Halo 2. Halo 2 was incredibly hard.
Yeah, it was. I do remember it being very hard.
Like Halo 2 was hard. You can argue whether it was cheaply hard or not. There were some points that were ridiculous, that were just kind of like, why is this happening to me? But I would honestly say the most aggravating campaign to play through was 5. Because,
Halo 5?
Yeah.
Why?
Because I hated fighting Prometheans.
Yeah, I don't like fighting because they teleport and...
Because they teleport, and whereas... Like, in Halo 2, 3, whatever, like, the older games, you have the Covenant, which fight more, like, strategically. You know, you have Jackals, you have your Grunts.
Same
you have,
with
like,
the Flood.
strategy to it. And the Flood, you know, try and outdo you by sheer numbers.
They were hard.
Yeah, very hard. But, you know, you could kill a Flood very easily.
Yeah.
But it's just, like, the numbers and stuff. But that's, like, the part of the appeal to it.
The thing about the Flood, I'm going to cut you off real quick, but the thing about the Flood is they are easy to kill, but when you kill them, quote unquote, you're just killing the body that they take over.
Right, they can
and
come
then
back.
It's the little, you know, what are they?
Right,
the
like
little
the
Flood
little-
that come in and
Like the infection form or
yes,
whatever.
exactly, yeah. But yeah, that's all I wanted to say. So they can be very difficult.
Yeah. But then going back to like Halo 5, you have the Prometheans who...
Same in 4 too. They were also
Same in 4. Yeah, 4 they were difficult, but actually I liked fighting them more in 4 because 4 they were a little different than the Covenant.
Yeah.
Because you have your crawlers who like crawled on ceilings or whatever. That's kind of cool for like ambushes. And then you had your knights who were just kind of big characters, but they could teleport and they had different abilities.
Yeah.
But Halo 5, they introduced like a soldier class, which was like a little in-between kind of thing.
Yeah.
They literally just became bullet sponges.
Ah.
There was no sense of difficulty with them besides A, they would just poof away, and B, they just had insane amounts of health.
Yeah.
So that's a difficulty that's not fun to fight. That's just aggravating because you're just wasting ammo. You don't even feel like you're like strategically playing. You're just standing behind a corner shooting for like 10 minutes at like a horde of enemies.
Do you feel like the implementation of health bars would help with that? Even though they're not, I personally wouldn't want, in a Halo game, I personally wouldn't want.
We've had,
health bars.
there's health bars on like Reach and...
Was it really?
Yeah, and Combat Evolved too.
Wait,
there was...
on the enemies?
Oh, on the enemies.
Yeah. No,
Oh.
not health bars on your Avatar. Not on Master Chief. I mean on like above enemies. Like Destiny
I
style.
think that would at least make it more straightforward. And I think that would be easier to tell which enemies were weaker. They had like armor, which essentially you'd shoot them a bunch, and then they would, they would lose like bits of armor.
Yeah.
And then you could tell like if they were weakened and stuff, which was kind of like a different way of saying they have health.
Right.
But I think health would at least kind of make it a little more like, all right, this boss has this much health, and like even on Firefight they had health, some bosses and stuff. Mm-hmm. But again, like it just became a giant grind.
I agree with you. The Prometheans were not really fun to fight. Like one of my favorite moments in Halo history was getting all those 7 Vidmaster achievements to get the recon armor in Halo 3. But my favorite one was I believe ODST had 2 or 3 Vidmasters, and one of them was in like the survival mode. I forget what it was called.
Firefight.
Firefight. And it was just a lot of fun fighting the Covenant. There wasn't any Flood, but the Covenant are very fun to fight. And it's just something about the Prometheans. I just don't enjoy fighting them.
Because the Covenant are smart, and like you actually feel like you're like kind of fighting like smart enemies. Whereas the Prometheans are like you're fighting a bunch of Bionicles like flying around, and like there's nothing satisfying about like killing them.
Agreed.
And it's
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. There's definitely a fine line between, games that feel cheap and unfair versus games that are fair but feel cheap at the moment. Like Dark Souls, whenever I died in Dark Souls, I was like, that's so unfair. Fuck this game. Smash my controller.
Right.
But, let's say I took a clip of that moment and I put it on YouTube or I show you, and people were like, dude, you just didn't do this.
Right, exactly. People would tear you new ones.
Yeah.
They'd be like, no, dude, you just didn't. Yeah.
So
no, I agree.
I don't know. I tend to stay away from games like that, but that's my opinion, and I feel like you probably feel the same way too. But yeah, so I think that's about time.
Just about so, yeah.
Yeah. So, we're gonna upload this to YouTube. You guys can let us know what you think in the comment section. If you have any suggestions for what we can talk about, or include something that we can talk about in future podcasts, feel free to just comment, and we will definitely take it into consideration, and you'll definitely see or hear about it in one of the podcasts. You can follow me on Instagram at FickNaranola21, same on Twitter. And Joe I believe doesn't have a Twitter, but you can follow him on Instagram.
JoeHart322.
Yep, and we will be back next week with more news. We're also going to kind of delve into more movies and TV as well. Maybe that'll be a focus of next week, and we can also even dabble a little bit in music. Because there's
been some interesting music coming out. Yeah.
I'm personally, I am a huge hip hop fan. Like I love, fucking what's his face? I love everybody. Kendrick Lamar, Lil Peep, poor XXXTentacion, as well as Lil Peep. Huge hip hop fan, and I kind of like delving into subgenres of hip hop. Yeah. And I feel like you're more rock, aren't you?
Yeah, more rock, more alternative. But I dabble in hip hop. I definitely listen to a lot of hip hop in college. So I definitely am very interested in like hip hop, like the world and like current like state of it. I think we're in a very interesting point.
Right. So yeah, I mean we can delve into many different things in each podcast. But yeah, just give us some more comments. And thank you for joining us for podcast number 3. Podcast number 4 will be next week. Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye.